All right, welcome back to ASEAN in Focus. Today we are honored to have as guest this afternoon the former Deputy Secretary General of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, Dr. Wilfrido Villacorta. Dr. Villacorta was the Philippine ambassador and permanent representative to the ASEAN from 2011 to 2012. He served as Deputy Secretary General of the ASEAN from 2003 to 2006, and he was a delegate to the 1986 Constitutional Commission that framed the present Philippine Constitution. He has now reassumed his position as Professor Emeritus of International Relations and University Fellow at De La Salle University in Manila, where he also served as Dean and Senior Vice President. Welcome to the show, sir. We are so glad to have you here with us, and we're very honored to have you here with us.
The honor and pleasure is mine, and I must congratulate your your channel, Net 25, for being the first and at the moment the only channel that features ASEAN.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
It's
you.
a great service to the country and to the region.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So, Professor, we would like to ask, to start off our discussion, is what do you think about ASEAN integration? What can you tell us in regards to your thoughts about it?
Well, as it was planned by the leaders of ASEAN, we would like to go beyond cooperation, because cooperation is some kind of a loose arrangement, which is mainly voluntary on the part of members. But integration means deep cooperation, where there would be harmonization of policies, of rules among all the 10 member states. And this is most applicable for the economic side of the relationship among member states, because you cannot possibly integrate or much less merge the cultures and the arts of 10 countries, considering the diversity. And this diversity must be nurtured instead of being reduced. And secondly, the other part of the ASEAN community is what they call the political security community pillar. And it's not possible, excuse me, to integrate also the political systems and political policies, foreign policies of the 10 ASEAN member states. So it is more in the ASEAN economic community. As you know, there are 3 pillars, and the ASEAN economic community pillar is where integration applies the most. And this would take the form of free flow of trade, freer flow of capital, and free flow of services, goods. So that will be what we mean by integration.
So the integration will take effect by the end of this year. May we just know, sir, the pros and cons of the integration and the challenges in the Philippine perspective?
Okay. I think that we are, as a country, very much ready to be part of the ASEAN economic community. In fact, it is happening already. As far as free trade is concerned, it is already happening. Not completely, of course, but on the part of both the founding member countries, the older member countries, and now all the newcomers, such as Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, and Vietnam, are engaged in free trade with each other.
Sir, you were the Deputy Secretary General of the ASEAN.
Yes.
You were also the Philippine Ambassador and Permanent Representative to the ASEAN from 2011 to 2012.
Yes.
And then you served as Deputy Secretary of the ASEAN from 2003 to 2006.
Yes.
So
So a total of 5 years for both positions. Yes, and I must say I really enjoyed it. It was a very challenging job for me, and
how was it challenging, sir?
challenging in the positive sense that I felt so inspired because I had almost 30 years as a professor of international relations, and the subject I was teaching most of the time was regionalization in the form of ASEAN cooperation and integration. So this is very much up my alley, and but I found out that teaching is one thing, and being a practitioner or a civil servant in a regional organization is another, because there I became more aware of the problems confronting member states as well as ASEAN as an organization. But it is also during those 5 years that I realized how possible it is for ASEAN to achieve its desired future, to be more than what it is now, and that is to have one community with 3 pillars: the political, the economic, and the social cultural. And I am convinced it is achievable because not only of the leadership in these 10 countries, but because of the people of ASEAN. You know, I think this is the paradise in this planet. It's not perfect, but sometimes there are conflicts among the members, but conflicts that are immediately solved because of the determination of the leadership and the peoples of these countries to solve their problems among themselves. So there has not been a war since ASEAN was formed, and since more countries joined ASEAN in the 90s. Now there are 10. All the 10 countries of ASEAN of the Southeast Asian region are members of ASEAN. The only Southeast Asian country that is not included is not yet included, because there is a plan to welcome East Timor or Timor-Leste.
Timor-Leste, yes.
And yes.
So you've mentioned a while ago that the Philippines is very much ready for the integration. May we know why you've said that, or let's talk about the strengths of the Philippines.
Oh, the strength of the Philippines. First, we know that the Philippines is the second fastest growing country in our part of the world, which is Asia Pacific, and excuse me, it's second only to China in terms of economic growth. We're no longer the sick man of Asia. We have a vibrant, dynamic economy run by very able managers. You know, Filipino managers are known all over the world. And if you go to countries like Indonesia, Thailand, you'll find a lot of Filipino CEOs there.
Yes.
And so it is important. I highlighted the importance of management, good management. It is in our country where the center of management education is located, the Asian Institute of Management. And students from all over Asia and other parts of the world go there because the Philippines is still known for this, not only AIM, but even other universities that are known for management education. Secondly, we are global, if not regional in orientation. We're English speaking, although we have to watch out. We'll soon be surpassed by other neighboring countries if we don't take the teaching of English in our country more seriously.
Okay.
But that's still an advantage where our mindset is global. We are very friendly and open to foreigners, whether tourists or investors. And we have this capacity to adapt or at least be understanding towards other cultures and practices. And from the economic side, we are there are some, if you may call them, disadvantages, because we, the Philippines, are the the lowest in terms of the idea of welcoming foreign investment.
Okay.
In the region, we are too restrictive, and there are plans to amend the constitution to relax the 60-40 requirement. But of course, foreigners owning land in our country is more controversial, and I'm not very sure if that is advisable for us to venture into that. There are only 3 ASEAN member states that allow full foreign ownership of land.
Okay.
And these are Malaysia, Indonesia, and Cambodia.
Yes.
So if I question the argument that foreigners must be allowed to own land to attract them.
Okay.
If there were many surveys made of the preferences of foreign investors, not only here in the Philippines, but throughout Asia. And ownership of land was not one of them, preferences.
Yes.
Well, like most businessmen, they are after profits. They're after predictability of laws and regulations with respect to investment. They are for peace and order. But it seems ownership of land in the host country was one of the last in their priorities.
Sir,
They don't care.
last question. You said out of the 3 pillars,
Yes.
the economic one is really the main focus of this one. And
Yes.
that's why it's ASEAN Economic Community.
Yes.
I've asked this question before from other experts, and I want to ask it from you, because what disadvantage would this do the ASEAN economic integration to the Philippines? Like, for example, before Mr. Ford asked at the end of Mrs. Arroyo's term, the former president, she asked Mr. Ford to set up an assembly plant here, a car assembly plant here. Now it was transferred to Thailand because of
Wasn't that Imelda Marcos?
No, it's Gloria Arroyo.
Gloria, maybe the second time around.
Yes. And then it was transferred to Thailand because of poor economic, for sales here. It wasn't enough. So, could the same scenario happen to other businesses here come full implementation of the ASEAN integration?
You mean companies abroad coming over?
Businesses.
Yes. Well, it all depends on us, and depends on the other countries. If the other countries continue to make their foreign investors happy, then these investors would not think of transferring their operations to another country.
So what
but
do we have
but
to
what we're going to have is not just competition or cooperation, but someone has coined the word called coopetition.
Coopetition.
Yeah, competing in a cooperative manner.
Ang galing, okay.
Yeah, in other words, the good side of competition, because in any venture, whether you're talking about studies or even love, competition is necessary, right? And because you bring out the best of individuals if there is competition. Without competition, then like that's what usually happens when a child is given everything and comes from a rich family, and he many times he does not end up as an achiever. But there has to be competition.
So it's a healthy one.
It's a healthy one, and that is happening already.
Coopetition.
In ASEAN.
Cooperate and compete
Competition. Yeah,
at the same
compete.
time.
And that's what we want to happen, and I'm almost sure it's going to happen.
All right. I wish we had more time. Thank you so much, Dr. Villacorta.